Hey, I am going to tell you about my game 3 at the Spanish Championships. Now, at this point, I had won my first two games massively. I was in definitely the top third. I was even like in, I was pretty sure I was in like top three, basically, because I was at table one. So I think that I was in the top two, actually. Um, and we were playing meeting engagement. Now, meeting engagement was really well suited to my army because I was playing Gurkhas and I wanted to win this one as well because that meant I would win the ordinary Swiss tournament and then just there would be a final after that, which I knew that I was going to face off against all the top players there because I could see on the other tables next to me that like Manuel was there, Achilles was there, Russell was down a few tables, Hano was there, like all of these the top players. Gervin was there, or no, not Gervin, sorry, Paul Wickens. Sorry, mix those two. So all of them were there, and I knew that I was going to have some tough opponents, potentially in this final game of the ordinary tournament or in the final matchups. So when we get the matchup, I was very happy because I was playing against Phil Acko. Now, Phil is not a bad player at all, and he had been doing amazingly during this tournament, right? He is, I think I can safely say this, Phil, right? He is, at heart, a historical player. He plays a lot of different historical games. All of them sound amazing. I really wish I would live near Phil because I wanted to go and join in his replaying of Borodino or whatever during the Napoleonic Wars. But for this tournament, he had brought his Japanese bamboo horde. Now, I had played Phil before, won against him, so I knew I could beat Phil, the player. I have played so many games against Japanese bamboo, and I know I can beat them. So the matchup was more or less a dream for me. It was the best matchup I could possibly get, I think. He had 18 organized Japanese. There was a bamboo horde, so he had like 3 units of bamboo. He had a cavalry unit, and he had a unit of naval infantry with a couple of submachine guns in it, which was clever. I like that. He also had a howitzer and a mortar, and a cardboard tank and a cardboard armor car. They were really I think they were both 7+ armor. He could have taken a captured Stuart because the Spanish had allowed everything you can do in Easy Army, but I think Phil missed that trick. So and he was playing against my Urban Adam Gurkhas. This was almost always going to go wrong for him because you have a second grade assault army going up against the absolute crop of the cream of the crop assault armies, the Gurkhas, right? So it was almost always going to go wrong for Phil. And yeah, let me show you the board we got. Table number one was this one. So we have one objective in the center. That is the secondary objective. My plan is always going to be to make sure I have that and then just start killing units. So we roll off the sides, and I get the side with the blue line here. So I get this side. Phil got this side over here. I get to choose, and I gave Phil that side because this forest here doesn't provide a lot of cover. It was actually a little bit further out, so it was basically out on the edge. He couldn't really like stay behind it and be in total line of sight blocked cover. So I was very, very certain that I could use these forests to jump from one forest to the next and go up there and just grab the objective. So my plan was to have a concentration of force right here in the center. By the way, in the description, go and see my plan for this mission, which is, I think, one of the plans that I set up for this mission was to have most of my army in the center or push right next to the center, which is exactly what I do here. The only thing I did was I pushed one unit of Gurkhas and the land mattress out to the side over here, I think, so that I had line of sight down to where I knew Phil, most of his army was going to be here. He didn't want to stay near the houses because land mattress. So I knew he was going to set up here. I waited for quite a long time until he had set up. And then I just, with line of sight down to one unit here, he had one unit of, I think it was his mortar and his Kempertai that was in this forest. I had line of sight right down to that. And yeah, so that I could shoot everything that was within 6 inches of that. So that was the plan. Now, how did I do? Oh, sorry, I have a cat speaking to me. Right, Phil did exactly what I expected him to do. He clumped up here. He tried a little bit to push some of his bamboo and a single suicider. He only had one veteran suicider though. Up here, and he ran his cavalry along this flank, which I felt like was very clever. He knew that he wasn't going to beat me in a head-to-head fight, so he tried to push the flanks. Didn't really work out for him because with the cavalry he had pushed his naval infantry up, but I mean when he got to this point I could... What is it? The cat is talking. When he got to this point I could just had units here that could go on ambush, just shoot him as he came. The Gurkhas behind this house actually ended up dying in close combat, which, yeah, that sucked, but you know, it does happen when 2 units charge me and one of them is veteran. But the land mattress actually managed to escape by running towards the center, and everything else, like my Gurkhas, my LVT, all came in here, shot everything up here. The land mattress had killed 2 units down here, just firing at a clump of different units. I end up push 1 unit of Gurkhas and a motorcycle up here, take care of his flank there, and the other flank is just stalled out. So, and he had his medium howitzer over here, which I shot at it with my Steward. He shot at me with his at my Steward. So I had my Steward down here in this forest. So we had like a duel going up here. But as soon as I had it pinned and my artillery bombardment came down and I had a mortar shooting at it, it went away. So yeah, everything went to plan, and there were 3 or 4 charges on my part, 1 on his. No, 2 on his. He charged both the cavalry and the naval infantry into that unit of Gurkhas and ended up killing it. And I think I killed the cavalry. But otherwise, there were only like 3 or 4 charges from my Gurkhas. They killed everything that they touched. His armored car was working here, and I ended up pushing up my LVT, shooting it, and he wrecked it over here. He couldn't quite get into safety, but he thought a lot about this. We were both like calculating, could you potentially run around this fountain, get all the way over here and into safety? He didn't manage to do it. So I shot him 2 times in the side with the Polston, and he died. So yeah, that was a rough game to Phil. I think he was a little happy about it though, because otherwise, if he had won, he would have to go into the finals, and he really needed. His wife was coming to pick him up, so he didn't expect to do as well as he had done in this tournament. So he didn't expect to play in the finals. So they had made plans to go early. So I think he was happy about that. And I was very happy to play him again. He was an absolute gentleman. I really liked playing against Phil, and we had a long discussion about like other stuff, American Civil War gaming and Napoleonics and stuff. So it was great fun, and the plan worked beautifully because, I mean, I had the right side, I had the right board, I had the right army, and I had the right opponent's list. It was always going to go well as long as I stick to the plan, and it really did. So, yeah, that was my game 3, and at that point, I definitely knew that I was number 1 in the tournament, because, and everyone also, because I won best commander. That means I won the ordinary tournament of the 3 games at that point. I was way ahead of everyone else. And I was going into the finals as number 1. I like that, but of course that means that you have the potential, if you lose, to get pushed right out of the range of metal, which, yeah, you shall see. See you next time. Cheers.